wanted to express that movement in the land. The beauty of Wine Valley is you could make holes go almost any direction at any point. This would have been one of those pieces of land. If you brought in a completely different architect, they probably would have come up with something completely different. And it's really the bottom of the glacier back in a million some years ago when the Ice Age was here. The glaciers had come through Washington and leave this fine powder and blow in like sand dunes. And so the soil here is really deep, like 80 feet deep of loess. And so it's nearly identical 2 feet down as it is on the surface. If we made a big cut, we weren't getting into clay and junky soils. There's so many natural valley corridors for it. And that was kind of one of the things we eventually tried to avoid, is to not really just use every valley the same. You just go to any point out there and you start looking around, you could build a par 3 across these valleys, an endless routing deal. This routing plan, kind of have to give up some good holes to get the best 18. There was some spectacular stuff up top, but it probably hurts some of the other holes down below. The heavy winds here are into your face on the first hole. But you don't face those heavy winds, 5 days in a row. You get a windy day and the next day's nice. And that's the wind that formed the land. That's the sand dune effect of that wind. Long ridges and then they fall off quick, and long ridges and they fall off quick. It's not a crazy puzzle that's impossible to figure out. One of the things I really don't like is too much of the roll off. And so we have a lot of those, but we tried to equalize it with just as many roll-ons. We didn't want to have kicker slopes where you make an error shot and hit it left and it kicks on the green. It's like, you got to use it. You got to sort of play for it. They might be short of the green to use it, and if you just hit a poor shot trying to fly it clear into the middle of the green and you pull it, you miss the kicker slope and it sticks up there. And so a lot of really smart strategy with that. Generally, it's a second shot and short game course. The greens are big, so it's easy to hit quite a few greens, but for kind of the elite players, the tournament players, it's really the strategy of your approach shots and then putting your ball in a place where you can putt really easy, because there's lots of easy putts out here. But if you get it in the wrong spots, like a lot of courses. And again, back to the fairways, wide angles. So even though the tee give you a lot of free fairways, when the ground's hard and firm here and the wind's blowing, you really need those angles to set up to those pins. Big, huge fairway goes down into a valley, giant bunker on the right, and another massive bunker on the left. Like I said, they're separated quite a bit. When we were building it, the right front bunker, my design, I'd drawn these bunkers in there, and then I would go flag them, and then we'd start building them. And I think the right side bunker, it was about a 25 to 30 yard long bunker, which isn't very big on this scale. And so the guy in the excavator carves it out there, and we go back to the tee, and it just looks like it's just tiny looking. The thing ended up, I think, 84 yards long, just to get the size and bulk to it so that it fit. But that first hole I thought was really, really important to set the tone. You want people to stand on that tee and want to play the golf course. And I know those first few years, people would come drive in and look around, and I would always tell the pros and anybody working, I said, if somebody's, there, because they'll ask the question, what's the course like? Is it a good course? It's like, just make them walk down to the first tee, because it's just beautiful. It plays downhill, down this valley. Green's on the left side. There's 4 bunkers, the 2 driving bunkers. There's a bunker on the right, kind of mid-green, and then one behind the green. And it just really fits in there beautifully. The green's kind of benched into the bank on the left, the valley edge. Plenty of room to play the ball on the ground on the left, get it on the green. So I think it's a really good hole. It's one of my favorite holes on the course. Well, probably one of the most popular holes out here is the 7th, par 5. It's kind of on the bottom of the course. It runs to the east, so it plays downwind a lot. And it has a punch bowl green that is really a severe punch bowl green to the fun. You can go clear across the green and bank it down across the green and back and forth. And the hole is placed exactly how we had it routed. And I really didn't have a very good green detail. And again, this is another Kai improvisation where we talked about it. We stood there and say, what if we do, be different and maybe a bunker. And he says, well, what about a punch bowl? Because it's like 2/3 a punch bowl already, and then it just opens into a valley. And he says, what if we just build it into a punch bowl? And I just go for it. You've already impressed me enough. I trust you. We built a tee way back, 600 and some odd yards, that was kind of potentially a super long tee for that hole. There's a huge bunker about 30 yards from the green that's really high. And if you clear that bunker, it's feeding right down into the green. And I love that element of, I'm happy that blind shots aren't frowned upon like they used to be. In my youth, oh, that's a blind hole. That's awful. That hole is blind in the sense you don't see the putting surface except maybe the very front left. But when you either drive or walk around that bunker and the green reveals itself, you might see 4 balls on that green and you don't know which one's yours. You don't know who, and you walk up there. And I think that's just really fun golf. The little mystery of, I wonder how that ball, because you hit it way right and you're on the left and you hit it right at it and you're past or, whatever. And so I think that's a really fun feature. The best view of the surrounds, but from above you can really see the Blue Mountains to the left and the whole Walla Walla Valley and in clear into Oregon and the windmills to the west. And so that was really striking there. And we really just wanted to have a really interesting, same thing, a lot of angles, big fairway, depending on how far you hit it, bunkers kind of stair-stepping down the fairway that sort of dictate it without being overly excessive. 3 bunkers around the green, but then 2 out in front of it, 50 yards that really dictate, hey, can I clear that? Do I have to lay up? Should I be over here or there? And so I think it's I love that hole as well. I think it's, being a par 5, it gives people some opportunities, not knowing what's back there. You think it's a bank, but it's actually a swale that runs away. And so if you do get in it, you have a little tricky up and over, but you still kind of get the effect of the bank if you make the big error and hit it way past. And it's really for deception, for depth control. It really has a cool effect. Jim, the owner, was fantastic. He, part of it was to build a course that he wanted. And the original routing really fit that. And then, he wanted a golf course for tournaments. He's a tournament player and he loves tournaments. And he wanted, he didn't want a tour event, but he wanted the best players in the Northwest to be able to play tournaments here and it hold up. And we achieved that. So I'm really proud of it. It's gotten, it really helped my career immensely and still today does.